Welcome to the Market Mystics podcast, where we discuss what's happening in the cryptosphere and trading on earth as it is in heaven. Buckle up and huddle on while we dive in and get weird. Here are your hosts, Joshua and Kim.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Market Mystics podcast, where we talk all things cryptosphere related. My name is Joshua, and today I'm joined by Kim. We are starting a podcast to share our journey in crypto and in the heavens, and we wanted to introduce ourselves and share just a little bit about ourselves. So I have a background as working for a commercial leasing company. We leased vehicles and real estate. I did that for 7 years and had moved up to a position of vice president with that company. And so we spent a lot of time working with the banking industry and the financial industry, and that got me interested in trading. And so for the past 5 years, I have been trading stock market, primarily options, and about a year and a half ago, got interested in crypto and have just dove headfirst into the crypto world. So now, Kim, would you like to share about yourself?
Sure thing. Okay, so a little about me and my background. I spent the last 15 years in a career in the auto industry. So I worked for a dealership they had 2 different franchises, and I worked from kind of the bottom up. I started there as a receptionist, wound up as the accounting office manager. And in the meantime, when the big market crash happened in 2008, if you recall, or if you're familiar with this, the federal government really started tightening up on regulations for financial institutions. Well, we had a loan company at this business that I was at, and they put me in charge of the compliance program, which entailed getting to know all of the federal laws having to do with finances and consumer finance and what businesses can do and can't do according to the U.S. federal government. So I have this interesting background. I know it's in auto, but what happened is I really got to know kind of the financial world through that. I have always been a numbers person, so accounting is a big deal, but it just lends itself very well to trading. I only got into trading cryptocurrency probably around the same time as you, Josh, about a year and a half ago. And actually, I know it was about a year and a half ago because it was in March of 2020. It was when the huge crash happened, when COVID landed, right? When it became the global pandemic that it was touted to be, when all of the markets went down, when the gas prices went to a negative price, if you remember that, that's when I started really getting interested in crypto. And so we'll talk a little bit more from there. But one of the things that really brought me to that was my relationship with the Lord. I would say most people would say with God or Abba or Yahweh, whatever you want to call him. The relationship that I have personally that has been, nurtured for years now, my relationship with him is really what drew me into it. But it just so happened to be at that kind of pinnacle of a time in the markets. So I want to talk about later a little bit about what he's revealed. But before that, the reason we're doing this podcast is because Josh and I have been partnered in trading. And that all came together just over a year ago. Josh, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, in late 2020, Kim and I decided to start a company. It's called Upper Room Capital Development. At the time, we had a third partner that has decided to move on to some other areas of his, pursuit, his life. So it's just the two of us now running this company. When we started, we thought it was primarily going to be a trading company focused on trading our own capital investment at the time. We weren't looking to really manage other people's money. We didn't want to go through the process of becoming financial advisors or brokers or, some of the liability that comes with that. But we saw an opportunity in crypto and wanted to do something a little bit more official than simply through our own selves. And so we created this partnership together. And in that, we focused on all things crypto. But one of the things that we've really been led to do is create community and relationships in the crypto space. So it's one of the reasons for this podcast is the ability to connect with other people around the globe about what their experiences are with crypto, what they're seeing, how they're using it, how we can partner with them in those uses, how we can make it more mainstream. And one of the ways that we've done that currently is through coaching that we offer, which we don't, like I said before, we don't offer financial advice. We're not brokers, but we have spent some time pursuing this. And we've gotten into a lot of obscure DeFi projects, and as well as opened accounts with dozens of exchanges. I think I'm up to 13 or 14 different exchanges. And so we have a little bit of an experience with that. And it can be an unfamiliar road for some people, especially if you're coming from a traditional stock market mindset where you go to one place that has everything possible. In the crypto world, it's not like that. You may have to create multiple accounts just to get into a project that seems like a good opportunity for you. And so we started the coaching as just a resource for people who wanted to get into crypto but weren't sure how to do it on their own and didn't want to do it on their own. So we offer coaching as another way to build community. And then finally, another one of our passions is creation. We want to partner with Father in creation, and we haven't gotten into that too much yet in the crypto world, but that is definitely on our plan to get into NFT or even crypto creation as we move down the road. But a little bit about why we got into crypto, Kim, if you want to address that.
Absolutely. So I touched a little bit before when I was talking about kind of my past. But Josh and I are both very much adamantly seeking the Father for what is it that he wants us to do for not only ourselves and our communities, but even for like our impact in the world, our impact in his kingdom. And we were talking about it just a little over a year ago. So at the end of 2020, when we made this business, we made the company, we registered as an LLC, but what drew us together is we had some experiences with the Lord that really kind of shaped the direction and kind of shot us in the direction where we're going. And one experience that I had in particular, I feel like this is really important to share. And this is what shifted a lot of things for me. Is I was having a moment with the Father, and I was asking him about trading because I had been interested in it, but I don't want to do anything that he's not with me in, really. So I went to him and I asked him about money and about value and these things. And the imagery that he gave me, what he showed me in that moment, is something that is stuck. And I think it's impacted a lot of people so far, but what he did is he showed me, I brought to him money, like I'm a US citizen. I brought him the US dollar and I said, here, this is for you. And he took it, he held it, and he held it in front of me. And he said, this dollar holds no value to me. And it burned up and it turned into ash and disintegrated and was nothing, which already was impactful. But then he pointed over to the side, and this was my first experience with this, there was the being Bitcoin and the being Ethereum. So one of the other things I'm going to tell you in this podcast, get ready to get weird, because we're just going to go there. And this is just the reality of it. We're bringing a different perspective. Okay. So what I learned in that moment is that Bitcoin and Ethereum are not just cryptocurrencies, but they are a creation of the Father. And so what he did is he pointed to them and he said, this is where I put value. And this is where you need to focus. And honestly, that has really shaped a lot of things for us and how we approach this. Because if the Lord, if Father, if Yahweh, if Abba, if he is not seeing value in the US dollar, then I'm not really either. At this point, I've walked through a lot of my relationship with him where I came from a real Western evangelical religion, I would say. And I would absolutely say religion. I've come out of this, been unwound, and gotten to this intimate place of being a son of Yahweh. And in that, I've realized that the citizenship of heaven that's spoken about in the Bible and scriptures is an actual thing. And so I'm partnered more and more with that citizenship of heaven. And so if the king, if Yahweh is the one who's saying this holds value, this doesn't, then I'm going to be on the same page. If I'm truly his son, then I'm partnering with the same things he is. So that is a very long explanation, but I just want to kind of give the foundation. This is the perspective where we're coming from. Okay. I know a lot of this isn't out there. We're putting ourselves out here and being vulnerable. And honestly, when we were talking about creating this podcast, it was like, okay, we're going to have to just be ready to get weird. I know that it's weird. I know how it looks to the world, but we can't live by those standards anymore. We're going to operate here. We're going to be about our Father's business. And honestly, I believe that we have this really cool opportunity, we being all of the people who inhabit the earth. We have this really cool opportunity to partner with him in this. And it's an open invitation for people to come, have the relationship, and get the guidance to see things shift in this world. I have notes here, just warning, but I have to tell you this is really funny. One of the things I wrote was to talk about the world system being broken and corrupt. And I don't even know that I need to say more than that, because I'm sure we'll talk about it in episodes to come. But honestly, if you look at the financial systems that have been running the world for the last hundreds, thousands of years, it's gotten to the point where it's very corrupt. There's only value in things because we say it has value. I would say the same thing about cryptocurrency. People always say, oh, but it's this weird thing. It's on the internet. It doesn't actually have value. And I would argue that something has value if you put value in it. That's the only thing that determines value, right? But our system right now is very broken. It's very corrupt. If it wasn't a big enough image and a big enough sign to see the Father say the dollar is worthless, if you look around and see how money is being printed and how it's being used as this tool to kind of control people and governments and all the different things, I think that's sign enough that it's time to really get back to taking your finances back. Get some freedom, get out from under what has been holding you back. Just the other day, I'm really making this long, I'm sorry. The other day, I was just having another prayer time, engaging time with the Father. And he was showing me that the reason he thinks that the system has to change in the world is because we have been trained to allow money to put a value on us instead of us putting a value on money. And so cryptocurrency is this really cool opportunity to just really flip that on its head and kind of start a bit fresh. And there aren't big corporations behind it. There aren't big governments behind it saying, you are worth this, and that is that's the dollar amount that will be placed over you to show how much you're worth. That's not what's happening anymore. And so this is really, I think it's a big deal. The other point that I want to make about why we're trading crypto, and this one was one of the biggest shifts that I've had in the last year, was getting to the point where no longer are you working for your money, but you start having your money work for you. You can govern this stuff and you can make sure it's going where it needs to go and that it is working for you. And one of the big things that we've learned, I'm sure we'll get into this in other episodes, Josh and I went through this whole process with another very, very close friend of ours. This whole process of getting out of this mentality of work and getting into a mentality of rest. And once you're able to start and operate from a place of rest, things come so much easier. And it is far easier to get your money to work for you than you constantly striving and working for your own money. So anyway, that's the long and the short of it. I don't know if that was long or short, but it was one of the two. And so that's where we're coming from. If we have any objectives in getting some of this information out here, it is that we want to give a different perspective, one that comes from the heavenlies and from the Father and not necessarily from the world. Yes, we'll talk about stuff that's going on in the world, but we'll also bring in that other perspective. The other thing is, I want this to lead you into a relationship of your own. We're not going to be advising on what to trade, what not to trade, when to get in, when to get out. That's not our job. Our job is to lead you to Him, to get that relationship and encourage you to do so. I would be happy to walk alongside you to do that, but you go and you get the revelation and you get that relationship so that you're walking alongside Him and you know you're always making the right things because He's telling you to do it and you can hear for yourself, and
There's
that's
such a freedom when you step into taking ownership and governance of your own life instead of putting it in the hands of someone else. That's one of the reasons that we want to see a change in the financial system, is because we don't want people stuck and having to work for every single bill and every next thing. That really limits your creative potential when you can't even focus on what you would love to do, what you're passionate about, because you're doing what you have to do to pay the next bill. And I understand that, and sometimes you're in that place, but our desire is to see people step beyond that into a different financial system, into freedom.
absolutely good way of saying that. Josh, you want to go on and just kind of define a few things for us?
Sure, yeah. So our podcast is titled the Market Mystics Podcast. And so we just wanted to define, what do we mean by that? What's a mystic? We are strange people, but there is reason behind our strangeness, I suppose. So just very simply, mysticism is a belief that you can have direct knowledge and direct experience with God. You can experience truth, and you can just have a personal connection where He shares things individually with you, and you can pursue those mystery things. That's really just what mysticism is in general. And so a mystic is simply someone who pursues those hidden things, who pursues that intimate relationship. And, so it doesn't have to be a big, scary word. It's just someone who pursues the mysteries of things. And, so markets are pretty simple. It's where people get together and they trade, person to person. And it's usually not an auction style. And so, what our hope is that we can show you how to trade from a different perspective, from a heavenly perspective, so that you can pursue the mysteries of Yahweh in bringing this new financial system, this new marketplace to the earth. And so what you may have noticed that we focus almost exclusively on cryptocurrency. And so a cryptocurrency is simply a form of currency that exists purely digitally. She generally does not have a central issuing or authority over it, but it's decentralized, which helps the counterfeiting, which helps fraudulent transactions, helps keep it from being controlled by one person individually or one entity, similar to our normal fiat currency. Another thing that we will probably talk a lot about because we're passionate about it are NFTs, non-fungible tokens. That's simply a unique digital identifier. I'm reading these from Webster's dictionary, by the way. They're not just definitions I made up, but a unique digital identifier that cannot be copied, substituted, or subdivided, that is recorded in a blockchain to certify authenticity and ownership. So mostly what we see now are NFT art pieces or short videos, GIFs, or things like that. That's primarily how we see this being used currently, although that is evolving and slowly changing, especially as the metaverse opens up. You're seeing all sorts of avatars and different collectible pieces. And I think eventually we will see real world utility in this as well.
Absolutely.
But it just simply means that it's a unique piece that cannot be copied. And one of the best definitions that I've heard someone give about it is describing like going to an art museum and looking at, these rare pieces of art like the Mona Lisa. You can take a picture of it with your phone and you can have a copy of it. You can screenshot an NFT if you would like to and say that you have that NFT, but you don't actually own it. And the true NFT is recorded on the blockchain of who owns it and when it was used. And that's kind of really the key thing with an NFT is the traceability of the ownership of it. And as an NFT is stored on a blockchain can be defined as a digital database containing information. And so it's just simply the record of cryptocurrency. It tracks every purchase, every sale, every withdrawal, every transfer, and it records that on a public database that can be accessible by anyone. And that's really one of the big things with cryptocurrency is the transparency that is there in a lot of crypto projects where you don't see that in the fiat world. The US government is never going to give you a ledger of every single transaction that happens with the dollar. They wouldn't want that. A lot of people don't want that. And there's a lot of people who don't want that in crypto, but that is a huge piece of it, that transparency. So you can see when prices move drastically, hey, is someone buying, is someone selling, what's causing this to happen? And you can track that to individual people and you can see at least their wallet addresses of what's causing the market to move, who's changing the value of this. And I think that that's a key thing that the fiat world does not have. Yeah. So as we wrap up this episode, in the future, we are planning to do twice a week shows on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Mondays and Thursdays. Mondays and Thursdays, yeah. To discuss the news in the markets, how that correlates with what we're seeing in the heavens, and just kind of our thoughts on the crypto sphere as it is. So we hope you guys stay tuned for all of our future episodes.
Thank you for listening. Join us every Monday and Thursday as we discuss trading on earth as it is in heaven. If you want to connect further, follow us on social media at market.mystics for Instagram and TikTok, and search for Market Mystics on YouTube and Facebook. If you still need more, follow the link on Facebook to book a coaching appointment. Until next time, see ya.